कृपया बैठ जाइए, अभी यहाँ पर प्रवचन शुरुआत होगा. Now there will be class over here on Bhagavad Gita. Kindly be seated. Those who want to take photos, they can go behind and take photos. Hare Krishna. Kindly be seated. Those who are standing in front of the deities.
फोटो लेना बंद कीजिए, नहीं तो सिक्योरिटी आकर आपका मोबाइल जब्त कर लेगा. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन. यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन. यमुना तीरा वनचारी. यमुना तीरा वनचारी. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन. यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन. यमुना तीरा वनचारी. यमुना तीरा वनचारी. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्ण Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text number 37 and 38. यद्यप्येतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकं कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुं कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Janardan, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? Purport. A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you for this Sunday evening discussion on the Bhagavad Gita. We are continuing with this discussion of Arjuna's arguments, why he should not fight the war. So essentially he gives 5 arguments. In the last couple of sessions we saw the first and second argument. This is the third argument he is giving. The first argument was he is feeling compassion for all the soldiers who have assembled on the battlefield, compassion for their death, compassion for the suffering. So why anyone should suffer so much? So he is feeling, just for my sake, just to make me the king and the emperor of the planet, all these people have to die? That is unnecessary. So he is feeling compassion. And then he says, therefore I don't want to fight. I don't want to become the king. I don't want to enjoy everything, all these things. The second argument he says is, even if we fight the war and I become the king, then I can enjoy, right? But then how can you enjoy if your own family members and relatives are not there? To enjoy any position, you need friends and family members. If they are dead, how can you enjoy? Right? So therefore he says, this is the argument he gives. Therefore I don't want to fight. Even if I win the war, I won't be able to enjoy the kingdom and the position. So why fight? Now he gives the third argument. The third argument is, he talks about kulakshaya kritam dosham prapashyadbhir janardanam. So he says, yadyapetena pashyanti lobho pahata chetasaha. All these people means the Kauravas, Duryodhana and others. These people na pashyanti. They don't see. They cannot see. Why they cannot see? What they cannot see? They cannot see the consequences of this battle. They are unable to foresee the effects of the battle. Na pashyanti. Why they cannot see? Lobhopahata chetasaha. Their mind and heart is filled with greed. Because of greed, they are unable to foresee the consequences. Someone is greedy. Right? They don't care what methods they follow to obtain money. Right? Somehow or other, they have to accumulate money. Who is going through difficulty, who is put into suffering, they don't care. Because they are blinded by greed. Similarly, someone is blinded by anger. In anger, you may commit any crime. You may kill someone, hit someone, speak something out of anger. And then later we regret. So anger can blind us, greed can blind us, lust can blind us. Any of these negative emotions can blind us. So Arjuna is saying here, these people are blinded by greed. Lobho pahata chetasaha. Because of which they cannot see what? Kulakshaya kritam dosham mitra drohe chapatakam. They don't see the fault in killing one's family and quarreling with friends. Mitra drohe chapatakam. Destroying one's family. So in those days, it was very important to maintain family tradition, family ancestry. you belong to which dynasty, you belong to which gotra. And these are all considered very important. And everyone is supposed to generate offspring so that the gotra continues, the family lineage continues. If someone doesn't have a child, then they are really in anxiety. Who will continue our dynasty? So maintaining family was an important consideration. So now these people are hell-bent on destroying family. That's Arjuna's concern. Who will then maintain the family? Family history. Nowadays we don't see all these things. No one knows what is the gotra. If I ask you anyone, what is your gotra? What gotra? We will ask. Who cares about gotra? Right? As long as I am getting a good job, good admission, good placement, who cares about gotra? Right? My degree is important, my position is important. All these things are important. When you apply for a job in a company, they don't ask you gotra. They may ask you your nationality, or nowadays they don't even ask religion, your degree, which college you graduated from, what is your work experience. Who cares about gotra? Only when you have to do some puja and ritual, some shraddha ceremony, at that time the Panditji asks you, what is your gotra? And then we look here and there, what gotra? Pushte rehte ek dusre ko. Someone says something, this is my gotra. And that becomes a gotra. And next year you forget what I said last time. So in this way, all these things have become irrelevant nowadays. But in Arjun's case, 5,000 years ago, that was considered very important. Therefore, Arjuna is concerned. If we indulge in this war, all these millions of people are killed, what will happen to the family? Gotras, traditions. Katham na jneyam asmabhi papa dasman nivartitum. These people cannot see, but we can see. Because we can see, why should we fight the war? Kulakshaya kritam dosham prapashyadbhir janarana. We who can see should not participate in this war. So, Arjuna is talking about seeing. There are various levels of seeing. One level of seeing is seeing directly with our eyes. I see all of you. Arjuna is seeing all these warriors assembled on the battlefield. That is direct, pratyaksha seeing. But then there is seeing, we also use the word seeing, I saw. When we say, I can see your point. I can understand what you're saying. That also we say seeing, right? Seeing means we can analyze and conclude what your analysis is, logical conclusion is. That is also like seeing. So Arjuna is not seeing literally, but he can see the consequences. By fighting this war, so many people will be dead. What a damage it is going to cause to society. These people cannot see. I can see. In the 11th chapter of the Gita, you find Arjuna is requesting Krishna to show him the Virat Rupa, universal form, Vishwarupa. So Arjuna says, please show me, O Lord Krishna. Let me see how your energies are spread everywhere, all over the universe. Because in the 10th chapter, Krishna had spoken about his vibhutis. But then he now wanted to see it directly. How these vibhutis are spread everywhere. So let me see that form. So Krishna says, you can see that form only if you have special eyes, divine eyes. You cannot see with your regular eyes. Therefore, I will give you Divya Chakshu. Dadami Divyam Dadami Te Chakshu Pashyame Yogam Aishwaram. I will give you Divyam Dadami Chakshu. So then Krishna gives him eyes. And then Arjuna is able to see the whole form. How this universal form has thousands of heads, thousands of arms, thousands of legs, mouths, thousands of eyes. And all the devatas are positioned in this form. The Vishwe Deva, Ashwini Kuma, Maruts and Vasus, and all these are situated in this Vishwarupa. And he saw all these Kaurava warriors, all these warriors entering into the mouth of the universal form and getting crushed and dead, killed. All the Drona, Karna, Ashwathama, all these people are rushing like moths enter into fire. Patanga, kaise enter hota hai? Or rivers entering into the sea. How they enter helplessly. Similarly, these millions of warriors are entering like rivers entering into the ocean and getting crushed to death. All these things he is able to see. After seeing everything, he is like bewildered and terrified. This Krishna who I thought is my friend, Sakheti Matva Prasavam Yaduktam. I was calling you, hey Krishna, hey Yadav, hey. You are this? I can't believe. And then he says, please, oh Krishna, please get back to your original two-handed form like my friend. I can't relate with you in this terrifying form. Then Krishna turns into his four-handed Vishnu form, and then he turns into his two-handed Krishna form. Then Arjuna is peaceful. So in this way, that form also he saw. So that was divine vision. We can't see that vision right, with our regular eyes. Prabhupada says the Vishwarupa was shown to Arjuna because so that in the future no one claims to be God. Anyone can say, I am God, I am this avatar, that avatar. Okay, if you claim to be avatar, dikhao apna Vishwarup. If you can show the Vishwarup, then you are God. If you cannot, then you are, Prabhupada said, you are dog. You are dog. So in this way, the Vishwarupa was shown to test, to demonstrate what exactly is God. Who is God? Who can claim to be God for the future generation? So here, Arjun's main concern is these people are blinded by greed. There is a nice Subhashita shloka quoted by someone. It says, Arthaturanam na suhrin na bandhu, Kamaturanam na bhayam na lajja, Chintaturanam na sukham na nidra, Kshudhaturanam na balam na tejaha. How different people are bereft of many things. So Arthaturanam, those who are very desperate to get Artha. Artha means wealth. Artha Aturanam. Artha ke liye jo atur hai. They have na suhrin na bandhu. They don't have good friends or relatives. Why? Because if you have to scale huge heights, then you have to compete with everyone, compete and destroy everyone and then reach the top. Right? You can't go along with everyone and reach the top. On the top, only one person reaches. So you have to compete and defeat everyone. So how are you going to have friends? You will lose all your friends and close associates. So Arthaturanam na suhrin na bandhu. Such people are alone on the top. And they suffer from loneliness and depression many times. Then, Kamaturanam na bhayam na lajja. Kamatur, those who are blinded by lust, kama vasana. Kamaturanam na bhayam na lajja. They have no fear, no shame. They can indulge in lusty activities without any fear, without any shame. If someone tells them, Arey, this is a big crime, what risk are you taking? They say, I don't care. And they indulge. And then they are caught. And then they are shameless. Initially they are fearless. Once they are caught, they are shameless. Na bhayam, na lajja. So a cultured person, if he is warned, Arey, aisa hoga, aisa karna, then he will be fearful. I don't want to take the risk. Then, and if he is caught, he feels shame, guilty. Why did I do this? But such people have na bhayam na lajja. Chinta turanam na sukham na nidra. Those who are afflicted by chinta, they have na sukham na nidra. They have no happiness, no sleep. Sleepless nights, they have to take sleeping pills. And no happiness. Always they are tormented by anxiety. What will happen to my insurance? What will happen to my job? What will happen to my family? My EMI loans? So much chinta. Whether I will be fired from my job, whether someone will hire me in a new job. So much anxiety, especially after the COVID pandemic. People are just recovering from that anxiety situation. So unlimited anxieties. The Kali Yuga, people of Kali Yuga are described as Prayan alpayusha sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadruta. Always disturbed by various forms of problems. If someone has no problem, he will create imagined problems. Imaginary problems. Worrying. Majority of the worries are actually non-existent. Out of 100% worries, 90% are actually irrelevant. Maybe there are some real worries for which we have to work on. But then the person is consumed by so much anxiety that he cannot have peace of mind. So in this way, chinta turanam na sukham na nidra. And kshudha turanam na balam na teja. Those who are afflicted by kshudha. Kshudha is hunger and thirst. Kshudha turanam na balam na teja. They have no physical strength, they have no effulgence, no brilliance. So in this way, everyone is afflicted by different levels of problems. So main point here is, Duryodhana is saying, Lobho pahata chetasa. One who is afflicted by greed or lust or anger, they actually become blind to reality. Jai Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki. So in the 16th chapter of the Gita, Krishna warns everyone about the 3 gateways to hell. What are those? Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha. Kama krodhas tatha lobhas tasmadetat trayam tyajet. He tells Arjun, there are 3 gateways to hell. Which are those? Kama, lust, krodha, anger and lobha. Kama, krodhas, tatha, lobhas, tasma, therefore, etatrayam tyajet. Therefore, you should give it up. Give these 3 up. So all these 3, each of these 3 has a potential to destroy our life. In another place, Krishna says, Kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhava. Kama and krodh are born of the mode of passion. Rajo guna samudbhava. Whenever the mode of passion increases, then Kama and krodh increase. In sattva guna, mode of goodness, these things don't increase. So Vedic culture encourages to maintain a life of sattva, maintain a life of goodness, so that these qualities of Kam, Krodha and Lobha are kept under check, under control. But as soon as we give up the mode of goodness lifestyle and indulge in a rajasic and tamasic life, then these qualities gradually start rising. And then once they start rising, it goes beyond control. Just like chain reaction you have, then it's beyond control. And then all kinds of social problems arise. Terrorism, greed, corruption, abuse, sexual abuse. All these things are ultimately rooted in these 3. Kam, Krodha and Lobh. right? People are wondering how to, there is communal violence happening. Communal violence, so much abuse happening, exploitation happening, corruption happening. There's so many scams, politicians indulge in scams, businessmen indulge in so many scams. Right? One friend was sharing just now. He was coming from the airport to the temple and he took a cab from the airport. And he said, can you give me 500 rupees? I want to fill petrol भरना है गाड़ी में. बाद में आपका इसमें adjust कर लेंगे. So they got into a petrol pump and he was filling the petrol and then he said, can you please get down? बाहर जरा निकलना. So he thought there is something wrong here. So he got down along with the bag. You don't know क्या कहाँ लेके जाए. तो ना महाराज क्यों निकल रहे हैं आप गाड़ी बैग क्यों निकल रहे हैं? नहीं आप भर लो. He said. Then he went ahead and he left. He just drove away. So then, so good that he at least took the bag out. He could save the bag. So all this kind of cheating happening. Just for a 500 rupee, he is indulging in such malpractices. Then he got to know that there are a gang of such cab drivers in that area of the airport. These people, this is their regular thing. The meter is also adjusted in such a way that from the airport to the temple, the bill was in within 15-20 minutes, the bill raised to 700 rupees, which is like unusual. So all kinds of malpractices, even in business dealings, when you cheat the customers, the marketing agent, they call up all these call centers, people call, and then they try to convince, purchase this, purchase home, purchase car, purchase insurance policies, purchase credit cards, debit cards. So much cheating is happening. It's all driven by greed. Lobhopahata chetasaha. And there is no check. It just keeps on rising. There is, like who said, there is enough for every man's need, but not enough for one man's greed. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you find the story of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj had conquered the entire universe. And then Vamandev comes in the form of a small young boy, Brahman boy. And then Bali asks him, so what do you want? What gift can I give you? The boy says, give me just 3 steps of land. 3 steps, my 3 steps. 3 steps of land? That's all you want? I can give you kingdom, I can give you planets, I can give you position. What I cannot give you? You want only 3? That's an insult to me. But Vamandev says, no. Someone who is not satisfied with little can never be satisfied with 3 world planetary systems also. That's the nature of greed. Any amount you accumulate, there is no satisfaction. You want more, you want more. You become a millionaire, you want to compete. Now you are competing with millionaires. Then finally you want to become a billionaire. You put so much effort, earn so much money, you expand your business, open new enterprises. Finally you join the billionaire club. And then you realize there are many billionaires. Now I am competing with those people. So in this way, greed has no limit. Similarly, lust has no limit. Anger has no limit. Therefore, Krishna says, reject all these 3. These 3 are the biggest impediments for a spiritual practitioner. Krishna compares it to unextinguishable fire. Avratam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena analena cha. So just as fire, there is fire. If you want to extinguish fire, you don't put oil, right? You put water, you put some other fire extinguisher, then you suppress the fire. But if you put oil, thinking that fire will be extinguished, then that's a misconception. So Krishna says, trying to fulfill these desires, sensual desires, is like putting oil into fire. It appears initially that fire is suppressed, controlled. थोड़े देर के लिए it appears like that. But then eventually it starts blazing. That's the nature of these qualities, lust, anger, greed, especially lust. When you try to satisfy it, for a few moments or a few days maybe, the person appears to be satisfied and calm. Then when it comes again, then it is more than that, more than the initial. All these addictions, initially, whether it is alcohol addiction or smoking addiction, drug addiction, there is the urge, I have to take it, I have to drink, I have to smoke. Then the person is irresistibly attracted to that. And then he takes one dose. And then he feels satisfied and pacified. And now I am okay. How long that satisfaction remains? Then when the next time it comes, it is doubled. The urge and the force is doubled. Then you need a bigger dose. And then another bigger dose. Then more frequency, more repeated frequency. Therefore, the Vedic culture discourages satisfying these desires. The Vedic culture encourages regulated satisfaction, not unrestricted satisfaction. It has to be regulated. It has to be under check. And that's what culture means. Culture means where these negative emotions are monitored at the right time, by the right people, and kept under check. When there is no monitoring, and the people are allowed to unrestrictedly indulge in these things, that is called materialistic culture. You can't call it culture. It is no culture. That's what we see in today's times. Right from students, school, college, indulge, enjoy, unrestricted. Don't care who says what. If you feel like doing it, do it. किसने देखा है आगे का? Therefore, Arjun here is concerned. His concern is what will happen to the generations. The next verse he says, Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bhivavatyuta. With the destruction of the dynasty, so what happens when the dynasty is destroyed? The eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the system of the Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious tradition to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the older members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain or killed. So, Arjun's concern is if the older members are killed in mass numbers, then where is the knowledge transfer happening? Who will do the knowledge transfer of traditions and practices and age-old systems of samskar? So it is said that there are 16 main samskars a person is supposed to undergo throughout his life. Beginning with, not birth, before birth. When a child is conceived in the womb of a mother, that's the first samskar they have to do. They call it Garbhadan samskar. How you conceive a child. That's a samskar. There's a science behind it. Properly. So that the child conceived is not an ordinary child. There is a proper divine child is born. That's real family planning. So that's first. Then the child is born. The name giving samskar, namakaran. Then there is Mundan done. Then there is Vidyarambham, education begins. And in this way, there are different stages. There is Vivaha Samskar, marriage happens. So throughout one's life, a person has to undergo samskar. What is samskar? Technically, it's like making sure the person gets proper impressions, especially in the childhood. The childhood is the most impressionable age, where you collect the most formative years of a child. The impressions that one accumulates at that time remains throughout your life. And that becomes the basis of a person's character and habits. So at that time, if samskars are not given, then where does the child obtain samskars from? Bollywood and internet. That becomes the source of all samskars. And you know what we are going to get from Bollywood. Nothing worth mentioning. So that's what is happening today's time. So Vedic culture means, Varnashram system means ensuring that every child goes through this series of samskars. And in such a way, then that guarantees, not guarantees, but at least there is good chance that the person will have good character. He won't become a terrorist at least. He won't become an antisocial. So Arjun's fear is, if who will impart the samskars? Not the young people. Right? The elderly people who have lived almost their whole life and who are experienced in imparting the samskar for so many years, they have to be there. Right? Because they will then hand over the knowledge, then the next generation. So it's a great fortune for a child to have his grandparents and great-grandparents at their home. Then so much volumes of books of knowledge are derived automatically, which otherwise a child has to go to libraries and study. The knowledge transferred simply by looking at such elderly people is far more than what one can get through a typical school education, which is that is also missing nowadays, proper education. So Arjun's concern is, if these people are dead, what will happen? Such a tragedy. How will the next generation derive samskars and traditions? They will say, ठीक है नहीं तो जो है वो है. Okay, once in one or two family members are killed, that's okay. Here we are talking about mass world war, where millions of people are going to die. That is a big loss. That will definitely have a big impact on the future generations. So therefore, he says, therefore we should not fight. We should not fight the war. I may become the king, my brothers may become the king, which is good, okay. But the pros and cons, this advantage of becoming the king versus the loss that we are going to see by the destruction of family traditions, ये कोई comparison नहीं है. So younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. So why do we need this samskar? Not just for creating good character, that is there, one important thing. But eventually these samskars are aimed towards spiritual perfection. So that eventually the person becomes freed from material contamination, he develops a culture of detachment and vairagya. So that at the end of life, he can easily withdraw himself from social obligations, social attachments, and he can focus on liberation. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. He can focus on moksha, which is the ultimate purpose of life. When someone doesn't receive these samskars, that means he has developed too much unhealthy attachments. Unhealthy attachments for material objects, material possessions and positions and enjoyment. And even till the fag end of his life, he will keep on hankering. I want to enjoy. And in that state, he dies punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. And there is no end. The cycle of repeated birth and death continues. Whereas a person who has undergone these samskars, at least he is in a favorable position where he is far more less attached than a person who has not received such samskars. Therefore, Arjun is fearing this. The next verse he says, Adharma bhibavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. It's a very important point he raises here. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted. And from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So Arjun's concerned if the elder members are destroyed. Elder members here represent all male members. In the war, only men are participating, not women are fighting. So if all men are dead, millions of them, that means their mothers and wives and daughters are all alone at home, right? So women are alone at home. Then what is the risk? Other men will try to take advantage of their presence, will try to exploit them. Not just try, they will be successful in exploiting them someday or the other. And in that process, unwanted children will be born. He calls it Varna Sankaraha. Jayate Varna Sankaraha. Varna Sankara means children born without proper samskars. Born of unprotected women. In today's time, it is a big risk to talk about these topics. Men don't like to hear this. Women don't like to hear this. Protection and unwanted children, these are all not a very exciting topic for most people. But Arjun is raising a big concern. When Prabhupada went to America in 1965-66, that time America was full of hippie. There was a hippie revolution. Hippie revolution means children of wealthy parents who have rejected their families and then roaming around in the streets, trying to enjoy drugs and alcohol. Rich family children, but not caring to stay with their families. But they are eager for something spiritual, but they don't know what exactly is spiritual. Someone said, okay, psychedelic drugs will give you spiritual experiences, LSD and other things. So many people were experimenting with these psychedelic drugs. And all the New York and all those areas in the West, San Francisco, that Hollywood area, they were all experimenting. Thousands of young men, boys and girls, experimenting with their drugs so that some spiritual experiences they can enjoy. And that, us mahal mein Prabhupada entered. And then he gave the knowledge of the Gita, saying these experiences that you're trying to enjoy is all temporary. It can never give you lasting, permanent spiritual ecstasies, spiritual experiences. Material, chemicals cannot give you experiences. It's just some chemical release happens in your brain and then you feel some emotions. Those are not spiritual. They are temporary. Once you come out of the high, you are back to normal. And then he introduced the chanting of the holy names, studying of the Gita. This will give you real spiritual experiences. So in this way, Varna Sankar is a concern that Arjuna is raising. If all the men are dead, who will protect the women? And such unprotected women will be exploited. And then children will be born who will be uncultured. Therefore, to avoid this tragedy, we should not fight the war. So Prabhupada writes here, according to Vedic, good population in human society is a basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashram religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its women. So, oftentimes it is told, India's population is so high, too much population, 1 billion has crossed, we have overtaken China. Who will feed the population? Too much population is the problem. Look at the Western countries, they have controlled population, therefore they are developed, economically prosperous. From this section we understand overpopulation is not a problem. Bad population is a problem. If the members of the population are cultured, intelligent, hardworking, then big population is an asset to the country. Whereas uncultured population, even if it is small in number, is a liability. So, therefore, training is essential. Training in terms of culture and spiritual values is essential. The earth can feed 10 times the current population. There is enough resources, enough land, enough resources that can produce enough food and all the needs for population far bigger than what we have now. But then we feel there is scarcity of resources because certain section of the population is exploiting the resources and not releasing, over hoarding. But if people are trained with spiritual values, spiritual wisdom, then everyone can be happy. There's so much land that can cultivate enough food. If you go to countryside, you see thousands of acres of land uncultivated. Right? So there is no shortage of resources. How we manage the resources and how we employ people to produce the resources, that is important. So overpopulation is not a problem. If we have good population, then that is an asset. So in this way, Arjun raises these points, his concerns about providing proper spiritual values to people, to population, and his fear that if everyone is dead, how will this tradition continue? So in the next verse, he will raise one more argument, which we will see next time. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any comment, questions? We can take one or two. Okay, thank you so much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, I have one little question. This is actually not related to the chapter what you have taught. Actually today I have visited a museum in Mumbai. So there I have found two things which I feel it is a contradictory. So I was supposed to, raise my complaint to them. So it's a good thing I'm making before I'm going to write any complaint to the museum. So one
बैग भी लेके बैग अपना बैग लेके
thing